more silence and vote them out. Those were the primary signs and chants used by hundreds who spent a good portion of Family Day gathering at Richmond, British Columbia's Minaru Park to protest against City Council members' recent decision to support a motion to explore plans for a so-called safe consumption site despite great pushback from the community. Rebel News had a videographer on site at the protests to show you what went down. Drea Humphrey here with Rebel News, and it appears tensions remain high in the city of Richmond over the recent passing of a motion to have the Vancouver Coastal Health Authority explore plans to set up a safe injection site near the city's hospital. As previously reported to by Rebel News, the motion, which was brought on by City Councillors Laura Galanders and Cash Heed, passed by a vote of 7-2, despite intense pushback to the motion during its two-day hearings for its consideration earlier last week.
Hey, excuse me. I thought we got it straight. There aren't going to be any demonstrations here. There's only one way you're going to give your input to this city council, and that is to get your name on the list and you come down to this seat and you tell us what's on your mind. I can tell you it will not happen again. Okay, if you want to be part of this discussion and part of this decision, then you will respect the process. This is not some kind of a theater or a carnival. This is a very solemn occasion where we are making important discussions and decisions for the city.
Vocal supporters of setting up a safe injection site in the city's core included this shameful woman who went on a racist tirade against an Asian man protesting against such.
I live here my whole life. I have lived here my whole life.
Drug site supporters like that one believe that such sites will save lives of drug users. In contrast, those opposed to the motion often cited concerns over the increased levels of crime and increased need for police presence that occurs outside other safe injection sites across the country, as well as concerns about their own children being exposed due to more drug activity in their city.
Every report I've seen on the overdose crisis in BC is just dripping with leftist woke language about empathy and destigmatizing drug use. Evidently, this tolerant, inclusive approach is not well suited to the new world of fentanyl and all the other drugs that will continue to come along. If you look at the overall investments we're making in schools, on books, new hires, consultants, management attention, job descriptions, mentions in strategic plans, board committees, staff awards, anti-drug prevention is not really a priority. This is especially the case when you compare it to left-wing agenda items such as gender ideology, Indigenous land rights, and anti-racism. In fact, the schools are discussing getting Narcan kits. They believe that harm reduction, they're getting into the harm reduction business themselves. Further, you might be surprised to learn that possession of hard drugs in schools is not actually an automatic expulsion.
What you may not already know is that despite the motion passing, and despite Richmond's medical health officer for the Vancouver Coastal Health previously expressing support for such a safe consumption drug service being used in Richmond,
the safe injection sites save lives. The evidence is that they make a difference in communities. The evidence is they make communities safer. That doesn't mean there isn't a debate. You always have to when you're doing something that may be perceived as new and different. And this is not new and different.
The day after the motion passed and the intense pushback against it, the health authority confirmed in a statement to Global News that it would not be considering a standalone supervised consumption facility. The VHS cited the latest public health data as reasoning behind their current position that, and quote, a standalone supervised consumption site is not the most appropriate service for those at risk of overdose in Richmond. While some of the well over 300 protesters that gathered to attend the Voice for Kids rally on Monday did consider the VHS's current stance as a victory of sorts, it did not mean that the 7 city council members who voted in favor of the motion are off the hook. Instead, the previous chants of no more drugs heard at the City Hall protests turned into ones focused on encouraging citizens to vote out most of the city's council in the next election instead. My colleague Alex Yelazarev had his boots on the ground to capture what that looked like.
So some people will accuse us, okay, because I know that most of the residents here in Richmond are Chinese, okay, and we've been targeted, and people will already see those social medias that the people were slurring, yelling racist slurs against a senior of Chinese descent. So this is not acceptable. Okay, we should not be targeted just because we have a different voice. We want to protect our children. We want to protect our community. We want to say no to drugs.
There's so many items that actually affect each and every one of us. And so today, I encourage you all, no matter what, it's time for us to stand up and speak up when things really do matter, before it's too late.
No more silence! No more silence!
No more silence!
The facts have proven those sites don't work. But yet the city council decided to not listen to us, not listen to our voices, but proceed with the vote to approve the feasibility study, which means it's an invitation for the federal government or health services, Vancouver Health Services, to come and put a site here where it doesn't belong. The stats don't support it. I feel very much betrayed, like all of you, that our councillors basically ignored us.
We have had a record number of overdose deaths in British Columbia, a record. This is a tragedy that is getting worse and worse. So why would we listen to the politicians that got us in this mess in the first place?
Yes.
Why would we listen to the politicians who have pushed harm reduction when it is making the crisis worse and worse, and it is making it worse and worse for the people suffering from addiction? The answer to this crisis is treatment and recovery. That is the answer, my friends. By continuing the cycle of addiction, by encouraging safe injection sites, safe supply, and decriminalization, we are not helping people who are addicted. We have to get them into treatment and recovery.
Despite the rollout of BC's progressive decriminalization and safer drug supply agendas, British Columbia is experiencing record overdoses. According to the BC Emergency Health Services, paramedics responded to 25% more overdose and drug poisoning calls last year, and the BC Coroner's Office has confirmed that in 2023, over 2,500 deaths suspected to be caused from toxic drug use, 26 of which occurred in Richmond, happened as well. Yet the province is showing no signs of backing down from its Give Them More Drugs agenda, even after it's been proven that some of the safer supply drugs are being diverted into the hands of children. The province's public health officer, Dr. Bonnie Henry, still stands by taxpayer dollars paying for drugs like heroin for users.
This program, this policy, in its intent, is an important part of the spectrum of medical care that we are providing and that we need to continue to provide for people who use drugs in this province.
If you share the concerns of those opposed to the politically correct enabling approach to address our overdose crisis, let government officials know you want change. Go to our special website called fixourcities.com and sign and share the petition. If you share the concerns of those opposed to this politically correct enabling approach to addressing our overdose crisis, let our government officials know it's time for change by signing and sharing our petition at fixourcities.com.